Hi everyone, welcome back to Story of the World Chapter Highlights. I'm Sophie Teacher, and today we're going to be talking about chapter 39 of your Story of the World 4 books. Now today is talking about two separate countries and the effects religion had on them as they rebuilt their countries and came back together after whether that was colonization or being separated. Now, the first place we're going to talk about today is India. Now, this map should help out a little bit at understanding all the different places that the chapter talks about. But as you know, India is a very large place in Asia, and for a very long time, it was colonized by the British. Now, when they finally became independent from the British, there was lots of different things going on in India. Now, Jawaharlal Nehru was India's first prime minister, and he really fought to make India free of European powers. He pushed out the French and the Portuguese and the English. He worked really hard for this. He wanted independence for India. Now, unfortunately, after about 17 years in power, or 17 years, being prime minister, he passed away. And he'd done a lot for India up until this point. And around this time, his daughter, Indira Gandhi, was also working her way up in politics. And since her father had done so well in, really helping India and make it a stronger place, she actually became the next prime minister 2 years later of India. So his daughter became prime minister. Now, at this time, there was a lot of issues going on around India. At that time, there were two parts of Pakistan. There was West Pakistan and also East Pakistan. Now, both of them kind of had a lot of problems. West Pakistan was much more rich, and East Pakistan was much poorer. And East Pakistan really didn't like the way they were being treated by West Pakistan, and they wanted to be free. They wanted to be free from it. So they decided that's what they were going to do. But because West Pakistan was much stronger and didn't like this idea, they started to attack East Pakistan, and people from East Pakistan fled into India. Now, the people in West Pakistan, the government and the soldiers thought, what if India sides with East Pakistan and gives it its independence from us? And they didn't like this idea. So West Pakistan then started bombing India as well, which just made India angry. They were like, what did we do? Okay, and that made them really, really angry. And they weren't very happy about this. Eventually, what happened is West Pakistan became its own independent place and was called Pakistan. And then in 1971, East Pakistan got its independence and became the country of Bangladesh. Now, the next part we're going to talk about really talks about this area within India, which is Punjab. Okay, as you can see, it's right on the border of West Pakistan. So if you remember, in Pakistan, you had a lot of Muslim people. India was Hindus. And now in Punjab, we're going to talk about the people who are Sikhs. So moving on to our next part. So in 1984, the Sikhs, who were a religious group, decided they wanted Punjab for themselves. They thought, India, Hindus got India, Muslim people got Pakistan. Why can't we have our own area as our own religion? Now, Sikhs had actually historically been warrior princes. So they were very, good at fighting and very strong, and that was part of their religion as well. They actually ended up becoming the prime minister, Gandhi's, not that Gandhi, the new Gandhi, the prime minister. They ended up becoming her bodyguards even and helped protect her. And yeah, they were starting to get a little annoyed. They were like, we want Punjab. So she thought, okay, what can I do? Gandhi thought, what can she do? And she said, okay, so in Punjab, the official language will be Punjabi. Now, this was the language the Sikhs spoke, and she made it the official language of that area. However, she said Hindus can still be part of Punjab. They can still live there. They can still be there. And the Sikhs weren't very happy about this. They thought other religions got their own parts of the countries. Why can't we? And this started a fight between Sikhs and Hindus. What really happened was Sikhs would start committing terrorist acts in India, and then they would run back to their golden temple. Now, the Golden Temple was a sacred place, and they knew the police wouldn't be able to storm it and get them. So they would commit a terrorist attack and then go hide in a holy place, which kept them safe. But eventually on June 5th, 1984, Gandhi, the prime minister, she was done. She didn't want to deal with this anymore. And she actually sent soldiers and police to storm the Golden Temple. Around 1,000 Sikhs were killed during this. They died during this incident. But if you remember what I said before, Gandhi's bodyguards were Sikh. And people said to her, you should probably get rid of your bodyguards. You've just killed 1,000 Sikhs. I don't think this is a good idea if you keep your bodyguards. But she really trusted them. And unfortunately for her, that backfired and the bodyguards ended up killing her and she died. So now Gandhi had passed away. Later that year, December 3rd, 1984, in the city of Bhopal in India, this area was known for having a very big factory. Now, this factory was owned by the Union Carbide Corporation, which was an American corporation. And on the night of December 3rd, 1984, unbeknownst to the citizens of the city, lots of gas, poisonous gas, started to pour out from the factory. Now, this poisonous gas got into people's homes and people breathed it in. And immediately around 3,000 people died. Some people actually say this total is probably closer to 150,000 as time went on. But these were two huge incidents that happened in India during that year, and it started to change India forever. Now, moving on to the second part of our chapter today, we're talking about Iran and Iraq. Okay, so Iran and Iraq. Now, at this time in Iran, you had a Shah and a prime minister. So similar to the United Kingdom, there was a leader, like a monarchy almost, and then there was also a prime minister. Now, at that time, the Shah, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, okay, and then the prime minister was Mohammad Mossadegh. Now, Mossadegh was quite an interesting man. He was very strange, but he was very powerful. They said he would often go to meetings in his pajamas. He would often cry during these meetings. And sometimes he even did his speeches lying down. He also thought that Iran should control the oil. Now, if you remember, the British owned lots of the oil fields in Iran. And Mossadegh thought, it's time we took them back. Now, the Marjales, who we learned about before, the parliament in Iran, they completely agreed with him. They said, yeah, we should own the oil fields. So they ended up seizing control back from the British. And as you imagine, the British didn't take this very well. And they said, okay, we don't need your oil anymore. Lots of different places around the world at this time had started to drill for oil and were becoming, quite affluent. So the British said, we don't actually need Iranian oil anymore. We can get it from other places. And yeah, they got really mad. And this caused problems in Iran because now they didn't really have many countries to sell oil to. And Mossadegh became quite an unpopular prime minister. He became really unpopular. The US and the UK decided they didn't like someone basically telling them they couldn't have the oil anymore. And they planned Operation Ajax. Operation Ajax was to get rid of Mossadegh. And it was successful. They managed to push Mossadegh out of Iran and they brought back the Shah, okay? So the Shah actually ended up getting pushed out of Iran when Mossadegh gained more power. And this was another reason the US and the UK decided to get rid of Mossadegh. They didn't like that he pushed out the Shah either. So yeah, now the Shah came back and he decided to make Iran more Western. Women could vote in Iran, there was improved schools, and he wanted to make religion less powerful. And Iran was a very religious place at that time. There was a lot of Muslims in Iran, which led to the White Revolution. Muslims weren't very happy about Iran becoming less religious. They didn't like this at all. And they said, actually, we kind of want to get rid of the Shah now. But the Shah had a secret police called Savak. The Savak would arrest people and kill them if they went against the Shah or disagreed or read any of forbidden books that he had banned within Iran. Now, around this time, this is where this man comes in, Ruhollah Khomeini. Now, Khomeini, what he did was he was a religious leader and a writer. And he wrote lots of things about how important religion was to Iran. And a lot of people agreed with him. He knew he probably had to leave Iran for religious safety, and he ended up going to Iraq. but that didn't last very long and he ended up going to France. And from France, he tried to encourage Iranians to rebel against, being forced to be less religious within their own country. And this finally led to the Iranian Revolution between 1978 and 1979. And people in Iran, they went against the Shah and they managed to push him out again. And he had to flee the country. This is when Homeini became the leader of Iran. So the writer and the religious leader became the leader of Iran. And he said, I'm leader for life. So he basically became a dictator straight away. He said, I will lead Iran for the rest of my life. And because he was a religious leader, he made Iran into a theocracy. Now, a theocracy is a country that is ruled by religious law. So it is not secular, all right? It's ruled by religious law. So lots of women ended up losing their jobs if their job was deemed a male job. There was a dress code for Muslims. Women had to cover their hair. Alcohol and gambling were made illegal. And he did lots of other things as well. Now, there was another problem going on at this time, and it was called the river problem, okay? So between Iraq and Iran was the 샤트알아랍 River. Now, for a long time, Iraq hadn't actually been a country until around 1919. And eventually, when everything was split up for the Allies, Britain actually controlled this area called Iraq. They chose a king, and that was what happened. But in 1963, the people of Iraq actually rebelled against the British. They killed the king, and it became a republic. So now you had these two countries next to each other, Iraq and Iran, with the river 샤트알아랍 running between them. Now in 1975, a treaty between Iran and the vice president at that time, Saddam Hussein, was made, which gave Iran control of the river. But as all these changes were happening in Iran around the 1980s, Saddam Hussein, now the president of Iraq, decided, this is my opportunity. So on September 22nd, 1980, Saddam Hussein and his soldiers invaded Iran for the power of the 샤트알아랍 River. But Iran fought back, and as you can see, Iran is a much bigger country, and they fought and they fought and they fought back, and this war lasted for 8 years. And in 1988, the war eventually ended, and Iran gained control of the river again. And it just went back to what started at the start of the war. So this is kind of one of those other wars where nothing has changed from the start to the end. Okay, well done, everyone. I'll see you next time.